Hello and welcome to a brand new video on the channel. This time I'm doing a Vanguard deck profile. In terms of content, I'm not going to say that I'm going to upload consistently, but I've basically fallen back in love with Vanguard, partly because I've qualified for Digimon, so I've had a lot of free time, and jumping back into this game that I like very much has been a ton of fun. And the other context piece is that BCF Manchester happened about a week ago. I went to both standard and premium, did quite well in standard. In premium, I decided to drop at X2 after round 6 because I wanted to shop around, basically. Like, I wanted to take advantage of the fact that there was a lot of people from different areas and all sorts of places, so I could get cards and trade and stuff. And also I think at X2, at that point, I would not have made it in. But Dimension Police was the deck that I took. I basically made do with what I had. There's a lot of changes that I would make to the list, and once I have access to those cards, I'll do an update on this list. But Dimension Police, you have a little bit of flexibility on what you want to do. So that's pretty much it. So we'll jump into the deck profile. Now, Dimension Police feels very much like an old guard style of deck, like as the current environment is very hostile to it with a bunch of loop decks. And Dimensional Police wants to play a good game of Vanguard where you sack the opponent. So for our starter, we have Goyusha, just very simple starter. Goyusha, Quick Shield, Guardian Ticket. I like the artwork. You can put the Metal Board guy if you want. Just don't play the Zeal starter. Don't do that. For grade 3, the Heart and Soul of Dimension Police. Of course, we have our main guy, Dailiner. So Dailiner's skill gives you that 10k shield to your grade 3, so it makes the deck very, very tanky, and it's a good baseline to scale up with your Geomaglasses. And the other skill gives you that crit and the 20k if you added a grade 3 to your hand, so quite often you're happy to spend the 1 CB if you go first, because Force 2, which is, you always go Force 2 in this deck, Force 2 plus the crit from Dailiner basically puts the opponent on. If I check Elder Breath or double crit, you are in a position to lose. So with that, other than that, he chills on the board and he makes your deck tanky. That's kind of it. Now, the advantage of Dimensional Police is that you can be quite toolboxy in your grade 3s because they are your engine. Like, your grade 3s are what give you shield and have some of your best field presence effects. So you can kind of play as many grade 3s as you want with different effects, or you can play like just kind of like a bunch of very good utility ones. So I went for sort of a in the middle approach. I have a good amount of toolboxing, but I'm still playing the core ones. Speaking of core grade 3s, none other than Daisaurus. This is the card that basically makes your lethal turns happen. His Vanguard skill doesn't really matter, and then after he attacks, if your Vanguard's 35k or greater, he goes into Soul, and then you give your Vanguard 10k power and a draft check. So the reason why the draft check is so important is because of X Gallop. Since X Gallop can restand, you want to make sure that you're always like draft checking a lot of cards, and then even in that last restand, you still have a draft check. So Daisaurus is very helpful for that. Yeah, typically he just kind of chills on the rearguard circle. If you have to ride into him, that's fine. You still get your force marker, but you could play him at 4. But the problem is that like he's not quite live on turn 1 with Geomaglass, because typically with Geomaglass, it's a rather vanilla turn just because it has so much crit pressure that the opponent will try to guard it anyway, so it's a little bit wasteful to play 4 Daisaurus, so I opted to go with 3. Now, for the main control card, we have 2 copies of Dailiner. This card's really cool. It basically stops a superior call. If the opponent superior calls, you can rest that unit, so this is especially very good against decks that have to multi-attack from effects that happen in the battle phase by superior calling. So your Grand Blues, your Gridoras, your whatevers, your Pale Moons, like pretty much like any clan that wants to superior call in the battle phase as an attack extender, you can immediately like rest it and take a lot of momentum away from it. So makes this card like a very, very big threat. And that's why you'd want things maybe like Angel Ladder to kind of like protect it a little bit, but it's also quite tanky at 13 with like 2 Geomaglasses makes it 23. Can't be quite easily swung into, so 2 copies of Taser Lash. Moving on to now the variety of the grade 3s. I'll kind of go over all of these guys. They're kind of the Avengers, I suppose. I'll kind of talk about which ones surprised me the most, how useful they were, and the ones that were kind of sort of like mediocre. So Daikaiser I played mostly for funsies. I knew that I wasn't planning on doing well. I'm by no means experienced in the premium department, so I wanted to take a fun card with me. And obviously, Daikaiser is one of the most fun Dimensional Police units. Arm continues to still be the GOAT. 90k worth of power if the opponent farmed the big hand is very, very lethal and makes your Vanguard even bigger, which is always what you want. And then Marstoge, on paper and leading up to event, this card felt pretty okay, like as a grade 3 that you want to discard for striding, and then you get to draw cards, so that effect is pretty good. But then his board presence was sort of like limited. He can gain some power and soul charge, which sometimes the soul is very appreciated, but quite often you just have, like, Dimension Police players were so like well behaved in terms of like resource management that I've never found myself running out of soul. But there's the corner case scenario where you'd want the extra soul charge, so that's okay. Other than that, the card was just okay. It was probably the weaker grade 3 on the day, so I might consider swapping it for something else, potentially another die arm or another grade 3 that does something. And then we have one copy of Ray Virus. I believe that's what the card is called, Ray Virus. Also, I want to make sure that I mute myself on Discord in case. Don't worry, guys, that was not your Discord ping, that was my Discord ping, if you've heard that. We'll see if I edit this out of the video. Probably not. So, Ray Virus basically, it's a glorified resist. He just has resist, and big guy. He's pretty good to, like, pass triggers onto. You can swing with him, you can intercept with him, and it just has resist. Against Link Joker, for example, they can't lock him, unless they have, like, a quirky lock. Decks that want to like get rid of him in the battle phase struggle a lot. Funnily enough, one of the reasons why I lost was because of Ray Virus against Diablo, the Shadow Paladin shard, because it makes me retire the cards, but it's still an opponent's effect. So Ray Virus, because he has glorified resist, I couldn't retire him, so I basically like floodgated myself. That caused me to lose, but that's okay. Overall, this card is really good, and despite how simple it is, it's a very, very effective card. On to the grade 2s, we play my favorite grade 2, Die Dumper. Now, I always overvalue Die Dumper a little bit too much in my opinion. Typically, if I'm on Die Dumper and my opponent is rushing me, that means that I get to stride. And there have only been a couple of times where I really wanted the defensive 10k on my grade 3s. So there's an argument to make that I'll probably swap Die Dumper out, but if you don't have something like Valtrosa, then Die Dumper is very, very good. But if you have something like Valtrosa, then I think Valtrosa is a little bit better. He can also gain power and retires himself, so against like decks that can turn that against you, it's pretty good. So it clears your field, so it makes it quite difficult for the opponent to damage deny you. So with that, that is Die Dumper. And then for my favorite grade 2 and my least favorite grade 2. So, initially, I never really played Gengar in Dimension Police. I never really understood, like, why I'd want to play it. I always valued Die Dumper more. But then I started playtesting more at locals against other people, and it became quite apparent to me, like, how good Gengar is. An emergency, like 20k shield, especially when you're going second, is very, very good. Or if you're striding, or if the opponent, like, strides on you, then they're grade 4, then this is a 20k card. Very, very, very good. And at the tournament, I was playing 3-1, but now I'll probably change it to this. However, Valkyrie, I don't know if it's because I'm quite lucky with my opener and I always have like the ability to ride up. Valkyrie feels not that good to me. I very much understand the appeal. Like, there are things that you can do with Valkyrie, like searches the bike, which is a pretty good right target, but for the most part, I didn't really like Valkyrie, and I'll probably swap him for something else. I'm not quite sure what I would want to put, but if I'm going to use a soul, I would rather use like Galsludge and at least like draw a card. So yeah, overall, Gengar, very good. Valkyrie, not for me, but it might be pretty good for you. Let's see if I can get this deck profile under 15 minutes. For other grade 1s, we have the Eternity Chaser. This lets you toolbox your grade 3s on turn 1, or rather turn 2. Lets you get your heal guards if you need the heal guard, lets you fix your ride, lets you get your defensive pieces, and it's also a very good card against like pokes, since it means that you don't have to guard them. So Eternity Chaser, very, very good. Still one of the goats of Dimension Police. For other grade 1s, we have 2 copies of Laurel, and I really wish I was playing more. Laurel is an incredibly fun card for me, and it makes those turns, like, especially on X Gallop like super fun. Like you can hit ridiculous numbers, and the extra crit is very helpful. That's like the main thing that I appreciate about Laurel is that extra crit, guaranteed extra crit. Plus you can do like tricks with Linka, like very briefly for those that you that know. You can effectively like use Laurel, tap the Linka, and then use the Linka to put it into Soul. So then that way you still get to do everything and you meet the condition for Laurel. So Laurel, I wish I was playing more. Only had space for 2, but it was still pretty good. If you play something like Valtrosa, then you have more access to the Laurel, so that's something to consider in the future. Now, for a card, I actually never owned this card. Shout out to my girlfriend Emily, who did own this card. 2 copies of Honolly. So Honolly basically is that multi-attack floodgate card. Now, if I was playing this deck a bit more casual, like local settings or whatever, I would probably cut out the Honolly. But for a tournament, you definitely have to play Honolly. The card's very good. Even if you remove it and then still apply the effect for the turn, it buys you that extra turn that you need. And in Dimension Police, all you need is 1 turn to kill the opponent. So Honolly was very good. And there were like a ton of decks that I wish I had Honolly for, especially against like GB8 loop. This is one of the cards that you'd really want. Now, for the defensive cards, we play 3 grade 1 PGs. Now, obviously, you play the Sanctitude. I only had 1 Enigma and Calm because I've always played 2 draw triggers for PGs, but I wanted to make room for 4 Linkas and 6 crits, and so I was kind of pressed for space, so I had to play a PG in the main. I didn't have any of the V-Series PGs, because those, if you have to ride them, they at least like draw a card and discard a card, which helps you like filter the V-Series ones. So instead I had to play a D-Series PG, and the only advantage is that if your hand is low and you have exactly like PG plus a card that you want to keep, like Stride Fodder, then you can PG for free. Other than that, realistically, these should be Grand Monk. So that's another card that I'm going to try get, because Grand Monk has the ability to bind himself from your drop zone to give your whole board resist. So pretty much like Denial Griffin plays don't really happen. Like one of the things that sucks to Dimension Police is if they Denial Griffin the Dizaurus, because it's a swing that you have to commit to give yourself that extra drive check. But with Grand Monk, that won't really happen. So if you have Grand Monk, I suggest you play 2. If you don't, 2 Enigma and Calm is fine. The card can add itself from drop to hand, so that's pretty good. And then finally, for grade 1s, we have the Acid Gush. This is just a 5th G guard. Pretty good. I don't know, it's just good. The second effect, I feel like it never really comes up. You don't really want a CB for +5 just on its own. Although, you can, like, it's technically a 20k shield that then gives you 5, so it's a 25k shield, so it's not too horrible, but usually you're just using this for the G guard. For triggers, the most important trigger, the main girl Linka, she's how you guard break by revealing grade 3s, but you have to be a GB2, and then she also draws your cards, so she's pretty good cycling. This is the win con of most Dimension Police decks. It's how you guard break. It's like the most auxiliary feeling. It's literally like one of the reasons to play Dimension Police. Then for our heals, we have 4 copies of the Edambulan. It's just your heal guard. It's a grade 3. You can use it in so many different ways. Like sometimes you just want the raw shield, sometimes you actually do want to G guard. So very good card. Then for the crits, we play 4 of the draw crits that are also defensive. 4 of the crits that are also defensive draws. So these double up as like pressure on your turn, defense on the opponent's turn. So these are the perfect crits. You don't care about the Gallop into Soul draw card. You don't really need it. And then we play 2 Stride crits just because quite often getting rid of a grade 3 means that you're getting rid of more than 15k shield. So you'd rather just actually have like a thing that you can pitch for shield. Oh, sorry, for striding that is less shield than what you're losing. And then finally we play 1 Diamond Ace. I still like playing a grade 0 trigger just because sometimes people play things like oh, you can guard with grade 1s or higher, so that cuts off like my grade 1 PG. So I still like having this guy. And the draw is nice. Doesn't really contribute to deck out that much. And then finally, 1 Eldo, because we are a Brand Gate deck, so we make use of the funny trigger. That happens a lot in Dimensional Police because you have a billion drive checks. For my force markers, obviously we got the Force 2. I have the Dailiner ones. Very excited that I got these. Super cool. Then Quick Shield and Guardian Ticket, or swap them the other way. And then the G zone is quite straightforward, I'm not gonna lie. 1 Messiah for the ticket, and then 2 Unibird as like when you take a lot of damage, like this is the card that can contribute to you one-tapping the opponent, especially if you go first and the opponent swings into you and you have a heal guard. You can G guard into like Gilgamelgos or like a G flipper, and then you'll have Linka active, and so you can Uniboard with Linka on your first stride, and that is like super potent because he gains a crit and 2 extra drives. So with something like Dizoris, that's like 6 drives, 3 crit. It doesn't restand, but it's a lot of pressure, and a lot of times like causes the opponent to just like die in a single turn, and he gains like a bunch of power. So shout out to Uniboard, and he's also costless and also flips, so he kind of does everything as you like. He's basically the best stride that doesn't have the function of Geomaglas or the lethality of Gallop. He like fits like perfectly in the middle. Then for obviously the main like thing you want to flip, 4 copies of Geomaglas, I have 1 SP, which is kind of cool. So Geomaglas contributes to the deck being like super tanky. On the G zone on Vanguard Circle, your grade 3s gain that extra 5k power, 5k shield, and then they also gain intercept. So typically, like if you stride into Geomaglas, then your grade 3s become 20ks, then 25k, then 30k once you have all of them flipped up. But the game is usually over by then. Even if you have to go into Unibird first and you only flip the 1, your grade 3s being 15k shield is also like pretty good. Often like good enough to keep you alive. And then the other effect, of course, of Geomaglas. When you attack top 7, call anything, call 2 things, and if you call grade 3, he gains a crit for every grade 3 that you call. Basically, like this is like your setup card. Like if you're going second, you have plenty of time to go into Geomaglas and then just make yourself like super tanky, populate your board, get good defensive units like Taser Ledge, the Bike, or you can get like Die Arm to spread a bunch of power. Very good card. And then the Killing Machine, Bravest Peak X Gallop. So he flips, he restands, he gains drives, he loses drives, but most importantly, that GB3 skill for every face of Guardian G-Zone, he gets 10k, so 40k or greater, he gets a drive, at 80k or greater, he restands and loses 4 drives. So with Dizoris, he can go to 5 drives, then 1 drive, so that's effectively like 6 cards to your hand, and you can stack like crits and stuff on him, and distribute power because he's already like so big. But if you can like put him to like 3 crit, then you can like, it's like lethal by itself. Like it always asks the opponent for Sanctitude. That's like the main thing. Or if they don't Sanctitude, then on the second time that you swing, then they're risking the Linker Guard Brick on the single drive check. So pretty good. And then for G guards, we're playing 2 Gilgamelgos. I should really pick up a third. There have been plenty of times where I needed to use like 2 on one turn and then 1 on the follow-up turn. But it's been good for now. And then we play, before Gilgamelgos, I also play 1 Dimax. I never go into this. I don't even know why I have it. I think it just looks cool because it's a hot stamp. But yeah, Gilgamelgos, 2 of, and then we play 1 Go 5. Go 5 so last 1 to just gain a bit extra shield as a 25k shield. But so does the Gilgamelgos, and it adds cards back, so quite often I just use this as flip fodder. And then we play 1 Zeal for that CB1 to subtract power from the opponent attacking thing, and then counter blast 1 to give yourself 5k, so you get like half of a defensive. Because you play Linkas, your defensives become 5k, so with this you can technically get like a defensive. And then finally we play 1 Atlantis Dolphin. I really like Atlantis Dolphin because Atlantis Dolphin is countercharge, which is quite valuable, but also he flips. So it's that thing that I was talking about, how sometimes you can like use 1 G guard, and then you're now a GB1, and then on the next swing you can go Atlantis Dolphin, flip, and then you have your GB set up for Bravest Peak or Linka. So yeah, so that's pretty much it for this deck profile. I tried to keep it relatively short, but I will definitely be making an update once I get those cards that I'm after. It's just the European market is very weird. So don't forget to leave a like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one.